Okay guys, ladies and gentlemen, so in this video I'm going to be talking about this Eleduino, I don't know how you say that, Eleduino, this case, this bad boy right here. Well, this is the box that she comes in, but this is a Raspberry Pi 3 case that does have a built-in fan. It's an all metal case, pretty nifty stuff. So I already have it partially assembled, and she's right here. This is what this bad boy looks like. Getting that kind of see-through going on. What? But that's what she looks like. So I'll take this top piece off and kind of show you. You know, you're gonna get that kind of clearer because of the green screen with the Raspberry Pi, but you'll get the idea of it. So the Pi 3 screws down into the case. Does not come with heat sinks. These are heat sinks that I had. Comes with a fan. You have to attach the fan with these screws. So it comes with a little baggie of screws and a screwdriver. Comes with everything you need. The little the screws, it comes with 4 long ones. Those are the ones you use for the fan. Then it comes with a bunch of little screws. You got to screw down your Pi 3 into the case. And as you see, it's elevated off of the case a little bit. So you have to screw it down. If you don't screw it down, it won't sit properly. It'll move around, and you don't want that to happen because there are screws that could scratch it up and whatnot. And you just don't want that. You want it to stay in place. So you do have to screw that bad boy down. And then with the top piece, once you put it on the top, there are screws on the sides. So this bad boy is fully encased. If you screw everything down, screw the case together, you got to put in some work to get your system back out of there. So if you're going to use this case, you got to plan on leaving that bad boy in there, not being, you know, where you keep changing cases or whatever. It's not that bad to unscrew it, but just that's something to note, that it's going to be fully enclosed in here. And then with the fan, depending on, you know, I installed it the way they showed to do it, but depending on which way, you can mount it either way to where it's blowing in air or it's pulling out air. So either way, you'll get some cooling, but of note, if you have it pushing in air toward the CPU, depending on where you're running this, depending on how long you're running this, you can get an accumulation of dust and lint and whatever else is in the air into your Pi, and then you're gonna have to pull this bad boy open, unscrew everything, you know, using a can of air and spray her out, you know, whatever, get all the lint and stuff out of there and dust. So that's just something to note. I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. Either way you do it, you're gonna keep your system cool. But if you have that fan blowing in the air, more than likely over time, you're gonna get an accumulation of dust and whatnot in there. People do it both ways. Some people have it pull the air out. Some people have it push air in. Either way is fine. Just you got to understand that, you know, what could possibly happen with it pushing air toward it with a case like this. You know, it's going to suck in whatever's around that area. So if you have dust in the air, or if even a little tiny bug flies by, or, you know, whatever, a little sucker's going to be inside your case. So just wanted to let you guys know that. So then really, the big thing with any case, in my opinion, regardless if it's a cooling case like this, which really nifty, comes with a fan, very solid, little heft to it, looks really nice in my opinion, and it's only, I think it was $13.99. Yeah, it's less than 15 bucks on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description for this guy. Comes with everything you need, like I said, the screws, screwdriver, the fan, everything you need. But before we try doing the SD card, just one thing to note, and it's going to be kind of difficult to show, but plugging in your fan to have it just automatically run when it's powered on. If you have your Pi and say your USBs are pointing down and your GPIOs are on the right, it's going to be the right GPIO pins, and it's going to be the second and third down on the right side that you're going to plug that bad boy in to get it running proper. I'm pretty sure the instructions that it comes with, I'm pretty sure tells you that. I didn't really look at the directions, I just threw it together. Just kind of looked at how they put the fan in there. But beside that, pretty simple. You know where, you know, there's holes for screws. can you screw that up? You could screw it up. You got to make sure your board is lined up properly, because you can strip the threading. You don't want to do that. So be very careful when you're putting any of the screws into this guy. So let's go ahead and try plugging in a micro SD card. So we do have this nice little opening down here. So let me go ahead and try sliding it in. It's a nice big opening, but there it go. Just dropped her in there. Party foul. Let me try that again. Take two. So it's kind of, you know, how it's kind of inside the case. You know, the edge of the case is not the pie. You know, the pie ends like there, like where the feet are at, because you got the fan there. So it's kind of different getting your card in there. It's almost like you got to lay it down and slide it in, because you can't really grip it from underneath. Let me see. And the same thing, pulling her out. I can't even get it with my nails as far as like gripping it. It's more like you have to slide it out. It's like place it down, slide it in, and then, you know, when you're pulling it out, grab the lip of the card and slide it out. You know, there's been worse cases as far as not having accessible SD slots. This one's not too bad. Could be better, but I guess, you know, with the placement of the fan, you know, it's the best you're gonna get with the way they designed it. It's not bad, not worthy of knocking off a point in my opinion, as I think the cost, $13.99, coming with a fan, being real sturdy and nice looking, I think is a good deal. Definitely think is a good deal. But let me go ahead and plug her in and see if we get any sound out of this fan, if it's loud or, you know, whatever. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so actually having this case plugged in, having everything running, the case, you know, I dig it. I like it. Some people might not like the look of it. It's not too much bigger than your standard cases that they have out there. It's a little bit taller, a little bit, you know, longer, you know, maybe, you know, not even a ½ inch, maybe about a ½ inch or so because of the fan. But that's to be expected. If you're going to have a case with a built-in fan, it's going to be a little bit bigger. Looking at the directions again, I did put the fan exactly the way they showed to do it. And doing so, you have the fan where it's pulling out the air. So like I was saying prior, depending on which way, you could put the fan on either way. But if you put it on the way the directions show, it does pull the air out instead of blowing it in. So like I said, either way is not necessarily wrong. Some people might argue that. You're going to get cooling benefits either way, but if you have it pulling in the air, blowing on the CPU, which the CPU is not even an inch away from the fan. So either way, you know, pulling out or pushing in air, it's going to cool it. But pushing in air, you know, with the positioning of the fan and whatnot, you do have that chance of it pulling in dust and debris and insects and, you know, fairies and brownies, whatever else is flying around. So you might want to avoid that, just depending on, you know, where you live and whatnot. You know, I live in a area where it's mostly you know, a desert. So recording in my garage or having, you know, any of this stuff, I get dust accumulation quite a bit. Every day I'm dusting my little area that I work from. So it's going to depend on where you live, really, and how long you're letting it run for. But the fan power, just putting my fingers, which you can't really see, but, you know, just putting my fingers, can't really pull it over too much. I could feel the air. So it's not, you know, it's not a very strong fan, but it's strong enough to where it is, you know, you could feel it. If you didn't feel that anything was going on there, then you'd kind of question, like, hey, is this fan even doing anything? Even if you've seen it spinning, but I do feel air being pulled out. So that's a definite plus. So when the case is fully enclosed, you know, it will be pulling out that hot air. So I think with that said, looking at this bad boy, the style of it, the quality behind it, All the slots are accessible. Everything's easily plugged in. There's no weird where you have to wiggle it or slide things in differently to get them in. Everything's positioned well. The fan seems to function pretty darn well. Not much to say about that. You know, I don't typically like cases that you have to screw everything in, because then if you're trying to swap stuff out, you got to unscrew everything. So that's the only real negative with this, if you can even consider that a negative, is that you have to screw your pie into it. You have to screw the, you know, there's a bunch of screws. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 12 screws if you were to complete this case that you're going to have to screw in. So 12 screws, some people, you know, might give up after 2 screws, just get frustrated with it. Not too difficult to screw everything in. There's a little tight, you know, getting the screws in where the pie sits inside the case, but it's not too bad. The little screwdriver they give you is all right, does the job. It'd be nice if you had a magnetized, you know, screwdriver. That way it makes it a little easier. You just got to be kind of careful with that, but you know, it should be fine. Should be fine. But yeah, with that said, if I were to assign a score to this case, you know, the only big flaw, and it's not even a flaw, it's the SD card slot. Everything, it's always something. You're always going to find something you don't like. And I don't like the SD card's accessible area, but given that with the design of the case, it's just the way it had to be, I guess. And it's still easy enough to pull the card in and out. But if you make that mistake that I did and slip, and your card slides into the case, if you're holding it upside down or sideways while you're pulling it out, you're going to have to open that case to get your card back out. Luckily, I didn't have the top piece screwed in when that happened to me, but that's something you have to think about. I don't want to knock off a point for the SD card slot, but for the looks of it, the quality of it, having the included fan that seems to work fairly well, I would give this case a solid 8 all day long. Would I buy it again? $13.99? I definitely consider it. I definitely consider it over a lot of other cases out there. But, you know, for basic cases, you can get cases for anywhere between $5 to $10 that are very functional but don't have a fan. Some of them you can easily fit a fan in. Some of them you can't. So having a case that has room for a fan and, you know, everything's formatted for it does come in handy. So I probably would buy this case again. I'm glad I have one. It's a definite, you know, most likely I would buy it again. You know, unless there's, you know, I'm always looking at different cases. So if I found something else that just appealed to me with the looks of it, this one kind of appealed to me. I like that it's all metal. I like, you know, how the fan's positioned. You know, it has that legit look to it. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I definitely dig this case. If I found something else that does something similar with a built-in fan for similar price or less, you know, I would try that out too. So definitely, if I find any other cases out there, I'll be doing, you know, more videos showing you guys what to do with that. But with that said, I'm going to highly recommend this case for those of you who want a case with a fan in it, especially for those of you who want to overclock your HyperPie builds and whatnot, or, you know, the PlayStation build. Definitely can come in handy. So with that said, I'll catch you guys next time. Boom.